Researchers have discovered a coagulation, an immune protein pathway, that is activated in severe cases of childhood COVID-19, paving the way for earlier diagnosis and more targeted treatment. The study, led by the Murdoch Children's Research Institute and the University of Melbourne and Nature Communications, has identified disease mechanisms in children with COVID-19 with a multisystem inflammatory syndrome, in which various parts of the body may become inflamed, including heart and lungs, and brain, and acute respiratory distress syndrome, a lung disease. MCRI researcher and University of Melbourne doctoral student Conor McCafferty said the main cause of severe COVID-19 in children was blood clotting and the response of proteins in the immune system to the virus. Children are generally less susceptible to COVID-19 and have milder symptoms, but it remains unclear what causes some to develop a very severe disease. Conor McCafferty, researcher at the Murdoch Children's Research Institute. Our study reveals for the first time the specific coagulation and immune protein pathways that are affected in severely symptomatic children with COVID-19. For the study, blood samples were collected from 20 healthy children at the Royal Children's Hospital and 33 patients with multisystem inflammatory syndrome or acute respiratory distress syndrome from the Hôpital Nécéran-Enfants Malades at the Grand Paris University Hospital. Samples from children infected with SARS-CoV-2. Professor Damien Bonnet, from the Hôtel des Neckers Children's Hospital in Paris, said further characterization of the mechanisms of these syndromes and the establishment of global collaborative sampling are seen as key issues for improving treatment and outcomes. The study found that 85 and 52 proteins were specific for multisystem inflammatory syndrome and acute respiratory distress syndrome, respectively. Both syndromes are important potential consequences of severe COVID-19. Mr. McCafferty said the findings were made possible because proteomics is an experimental approach in which researchers can simultaneously study nearly 500 proteins circulating in the blood. Data showed that 1.7% of reported pediatric hospitalizations for COVID-19 involved ICU admissions. Children with COVID-19 with multisystem inflammatory syndrome also show clinical features similar to Kawasaki disease and toxic shock syndrome, such as fever, abdominal pain,